Hi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here. And I want to thank Hay House for hosting this wonderful event. Isn't it beautiful? Good for them. A lot happening in the world. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about archetypes. So, already this morning you have probably spoken archetypes maybe 20 times. So I'm going to take that word out and put another one in for a second. I'm going to use the word label. How many things have you labeled this morning? Just as you walked in here, just as you walked down the street, as you chose a seat, as you look at another person, you speak archetypes so fluently and so fast that you don't even realize you're doing it. When you scan anything, you do it in the language of archetypes, like this, just like that. You'll see someone and you'll say something like geek, especially here. Am I right or am I right, right? You'll say something like loser, successful, entrepreneur, geek, mother, blah, 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 blah. How many of you, this is what you do? This is what we all do. We do this by instinct. It's part of our survival instinct. We speak archetype fluently. What I always find fascinating and fun is that we think we're the only ones doing it. And when I tell people, like, how many people do you think have labeled you this morning? People are like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'm the one who does this. We even have, everybody even knows that I mean, it's like common to do what we call people watch. People watch is archetypal watching. What are you doing today? I'm going to go sit around and label people. What do you think you're doing? I'm going to go and sit and put archetypes on people as they walk by, but they don't know that I'm doing that. That's exactly what you're doing. You are actually honing your archetypal skills. That's what you're doing. Now, we've always done this. So what the intriguing part right now is to sit back and say, why at this time is it essential for us to become aware that we're doing this? Because that's what's happening. It's not that the world of archetypes is new. It is not. Plato wrote about them. There's nothing. He said the gods of Olympus were archetypes. He said that. It's not that there's anything new about archetypes. These universal patterns of power or consciousness that equalize the playing field of who we are. But why is it now that it's essential for us to know about them? Because they've always been a part of the human experience. Except now, we've entered the age of archetypes. Now it's as if this realm of archetypal authority wants to come into view in front of us and make itself known, as if to say, you need to know about the operating principles in your unconscious. These have to become conscious now. Why is that? So I'm going to take it a step further. Just a second. I'm sorry to do that. I'm just coming off the tail end of, well, you know what happens? Here's a forewarning. Never take one of those like Sudafed things or a Dristan before your lecture, because it does do what it says, like dry you out, but it dries you and your throat goes so and that's what I'm experiencing. Let me explain in really fun detail, and it's really delicious for me, what is contained in an archetype so that you have this wondrous sense of why you like to label people. And this is what happens. It's like, this is what is called inherent knowledge. We're just born knowing that. In every single archetype, a whole bank of information is contained. So when you use an archetype and you say to someone, I'm a multitasker, you are saying you are transferring a whole bank account of information to that person. You're not transferring a word. You're transferring a temperament. You're transferring your nature. You're transferring a whole thing about your talent. You're transferring a statement of your excellence. You're saying that you are focused, all in one word. You don't have to say all those other words, because that one word transfers all those things. That's an archetype. That's the power. These are power words because they're alive. They're alive. They're absolutely alive. And I'll tell you what else they have. They have rules. Part of their being alive, not alive like angels that are conscious beings. Archetypes are part of our collective soul. Now, this is something that's really rich to understand. Carl Jung called them the part of the collective unconscious, and it's important to understand this. Archetypes are not part of the angelic kingdom in that an angel is a conscious being. They're not conscious. But think of the archetypal collective unconscious as something all of us are a part of, and another word for it, another way to describe it, as our collective internet. Our internet. I-N-N-E-R. The internet is actually a manifestation of our internet. And it could not have been created were it not for the fact that we're already and have always been connected. We simply pushed it out of ourselves. And now in this era of energy technology, we found the duplicate for how we've always been connected energetically since time began. We are now living in an age of energy, consciousness on the outside that is merging with the quality of our consciousness on the inside. Are you following me? So our internet is matching our internet. The difference is we're aware when we're Googling, but you're not aware when you're Googling in here. And every time you look at someone and you label them, you're Googling. You're Googling them. Every time you say, that I wonder what's going on with that person, or they're not supposed to be doing that. The reason you say they're not supposed to be doing that, or you feel like they violated something, let me give you an example. Nobody has ever written the rules of what it is to be a good mother. Nobody. Show me where the rule book is. Nobody, similarly, has ever written a book on how to be a pirate? Where's the rule book? From Sir Francis Drake to Sir Walter Raleigh to the resurrection of the pirates off Somalia, where's the rule book? But there is, somehow or other, they all follow the same rules. They somehow know the law of how to be a pirate. Because every archetype contains its own moral code, its own inherent law, its own law of survival. It's just in there. How to be a good mother is in the mother archetype, which is why everybody recognizes that's a good mother, and that's not. Period. That's not a good mother. Mothers don't do that. How do you know? Show me the rule book. You just know it. That person would say, you just know it. You just know it. And you start shaking when you see a mother do something like that. You start shaking. You think, I'm going to go shake her. I'm going to go kill her. I'm going to beat her up. I'm going to be this. Why? She's not breaking a law. Do you see what she's doing to her child? Do you see that? She's screaming at her. Look at the child's cowling in the corner. I'm going to rip her head off. Just a minute. I'll be right back. Order for me. I'll be right back. There's no rule book. There's no rule book that says the mother can't do that. Yes, there is. It's an archetypal rule book. And it's written in our code because we know those rules, because we know the archetype. It's in us. We were all born knowing that archetype. It doesn't matter that you're not a mother. I'm not a mother, but I know that archetype. I know it because we all know it. That's our collective unconscious. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us humanity together. That's what makes us say, what is the matter with that human being? How could any human being do that? Because we know somehow or other, these are the rules of being human, and these are not. This is what an archetype does. Each of us has a certain pattern of archetypes in us. Not all the same. Each of us has a chemistry, a mandala of particular archetypes in us. And these we have a contract with. We do. We have archetypes in us. And they call us, draw us. They are like pulses in us. And the book, Archetypes, Who Are You? I wrote that to introduce people to what's it feel like? What's it feel like to make contact with an archetype? What's it feel like? What do I sense? How do I know what my archetype is and what it isn't? How do I know that? And if I have this archetype, do other people relate in the same way who have this archetype? Yes. When you meet somebody, the first thing you do when you see people, meet them, when you say, I relate to you, what you're relating to, first of all, is there an archetypal pattern that you feel in resonance with. When you come back and you report in about someone and you say, I don't know, I can't get a fix on them. What it is you can't figure out any of their archetypal patterns. You can't crack a code. You can't get in there. You can't crack a code. And therefore, you come back and you report in and you say, I don't know, I can't figure them out. You don't trust them. You don't trust them because you can't get into an archetypal pattern. And therefore, well, that's that. They're probably weird. Yeah, that's what you'll do. You'll simply stamp weird and keep going, right? And you don't realize they're looking at you and saying weird, and it doesn't occur to you because you're in charge of the world. And this is something you believe, and that too is an archetype. That too is an archetype. The belief that you're the center of the universe. That too is an absolute archetype. That the whole universe starts and ends with you. That justice starts and ends with you. That you are the one calling the shots on this planet. And you mean people don't know it? I write the rules. I write the rules. I declare who is what and what is so. And here's the rule book. And then you meet someone else who's just like that, and you come back and you say, what a control freak. Another archetype. And I've, because I teach and then I do these smaller workshops where I get to really get to know people, and I said to this one person, that person's a control freak. And of course, so often, you are aggressive toward a person who's just like you. Yes. And when a control freak meets a control freak, you want to buy tickets to that. So, yeah, it's fun. And you just want to sit back and say, oh, let him have it, Wait till the black eyes start and you could step in. So, and this person said to me, I'm telling you, she is such a control freak. I work with this woman, and I said, and what does she do? Well, and and I said, are you like that? Yeah, but I have reasons. I'm sure you do. And I bet all of them are just the right ones. Well, yes, and out comes the rationale. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, that's the control freak. Do I have any control freaks here? Okay, that's now here's the thing about being an archetype, knowing an archetype in you. Here's the delight when you start finding out what your archetype is. And this is just the beginning. For me, entering into the world of archetypes was like finding, how do I say? It was as if I found an archive of universal knowledge versus information. In doing medical intuitive readings, I did a reading. Readings for me started out with trying to find out why you were sick and identify an illness. There is no benefit to that. Zero. It won't help you at all. Because at the end of the day, you know why you're sick. You don't need my help. So let's move on. Then there's the stage. I beg your pardon. Pardon. Then there's the stage at which you need to discover, well, why am I not healing? Quite frankly, you also know that. But here comes an archetype that helped me to figure that out. And I realized every one of us has that archetype. And now my own a window of perception is now getting wider, but it's also getting deeper. And now, for me in my own journey, which now we're going back to the 90s, the depth charges, I'm now getting depth charges. And for me, when the depth charges started, it was as if, I am focused, I am now alert. The saboteur archetype. Now I'm onto something. I recognize, oh my God, there's a saboteur. At first I called it a principle, except that it was always the same in each of us. That makes it an archetype. An archetype. It behaves identically in all of us. Now I have to study this. I'm focused. I am eating this up like I used to eat Frosted Flakes. I'm hooked. I'm watching this archetype in every single person now because I know it's an archetype. No matter who I meet, I know it's there. Now it's just a matter of, let me see how it's going to turn up. Why is it there? Why? So I ask myself, not, does this person have a saboteur? But because I now know it's there, now my question shifts from an is it there to how does this person sabotage themselves? I'm past the wonderment. I know it's an active force. When is the saboteur going to come out? What's the trigger point? And now I ask I know why. Why do we do that? That became my real rich focus. Why do we sabotage ourselves? I had to figure that out. And then I saw it. Why do we do that? And I put this against a mystery board of, it's not an outside force that comes in and goes, boo, 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 and oh no, because we would love to blame. We always want to blame someone, something, our childhood, our mommy, our daddy, our this or that, for why our lives are the way they are, or why we don't try, or why we're unhappy. Blame is the saboteur. Blame is the voice of the saboteur. Because there's an inherent part of us that simply does not want to rise to the next level of responsibility. We don't want it. We like to dream about it. We like to imagine ourselves as more responsible and reaping the benefits from it. We like to fantasize about it. But in the end, the saboteur walks hand in hand with the child in us. And it's a decision as to whether or not we stay with the child that wants to find someone else to take responsibility for our choices in our life, or whether we finally stand up and stop sabotaging and rise to the next level of power. Now, that's tied directly to whether or not you can heal. Because people who sabotage themselves cannot heal certain illnesses, and it's as simple as that. So if you come to me now and you say, why am I not healing? Why did I get sick? Don't you even think for a moment that I will tell you, well, it's because of your childhood. I will open you up with a dagger. And I will take you into your psyche, and I will pull out your saboteur. And I will pull out your wounded child and your orphan without mercy. Because I don't have mercy with illness. I do not have mercy with illness. If you're facing death, you face it with a dagger. I do not sit there with you and, oh, you poor thing. I come at it like a warrior and a mad one.
Love you,
All right? This is why you have to know your archetypes, because here we go. Here's the next level. Everything about what I'm telling you is simply impersonal. The next stage of what you have to know about what we are talking about is that the whole realm of archetypal knowledge is totally impersonal. And this changed my understanding of God. This formed my understanding of God. I got it. I got the nature of God through this. God is totally impersonal. Oh, don't say that. I will. Yes, I will. Yeah. It is archetypal in us that we want God to look like us, and that's a stage. I want you to think of yourself in the Hubble telescope, flying around this gargantuan, endless cosmic universe, endlessly, going past the Andromedan galaxy and past the Sombrero galaxy, past everything, blah, blah, blah. Saying hi to all the extraterrestrials out there, saying don't tell NASA you exist because they can't cope with it. They're still lying. They still think that this itty-bitty little planet is, we own all this. And Halliburton wants to stake it out. What lunatics. But anyway. What lunatics. But what kind of egocentric maniacs declare themselves the only life in the whole of the universe, no matter how big it is. Oh, yeah? Okay. Right. And you can't even get along with your neighbor. Shut up, idiot. Okay, so this is where I break out into if I ruled the world. Okay. This would be my political platform. You idiot. You should see me in a debate, right? Yeah, really. You idiot. Are you going to vote for that idiot? He's an idiot, right? I mean, why not call it like it is? But anyway, you're an idiot. All right. Guy's got his brains up. But anyway. So now, picture yourself in this grand galaxy, this incredible grand galaxy, a stage archetypally that we go through is that we imagine the God we worship to be like us, because we need that. What we want, and this is archetypal, is that this huge system of power, we got to touch it, we got to feel it, we got to taste it, we got to smell it. Somehow, it's so huge that we have to shrink it down into a system that makes it personal. Because how could this be personal? But if I sent you off on a trip through the universe, and I brought you back, and I would say, so do you still think it's just like you? You would have to come back and say, well, okay, I'm willing to say that maybe God wasn't born on Christmas. Maybe. All right, we're making progress. We're making progress here. We're making progress. Little by little, the progression is that you reach a place, and this is true for all souls who journey through the egocentric stage, that this power has to be mine. It has to be ours, which is religion. We own this power. To the journey of stepping out and saying, the power owns me. I serve this power. I serve it. I am one with it. And now you study law. Now you go to school. This universe is law. It's law. All systems are run by the law. That's it. It's law. The planets are held together by law. The galaxies are held together by law. Even disease is managed by law, because if it wasn't, we couldn't find a cure. Everything is subject to law. Your body's subject to law. Put the wrong thing in and it will vomit. You can count on it. Not one thing. Without the law of gravity, you would float. Law is the cosmic nature of God. Archetypes are laws. They are subject to laws, which is why when you see a mother violating a child in some way, emotionally, psychologically, doesn't break a civil law, perhaps, but it breaks a cosmic law and you feel it. And everyone feels that who has, because we're all tied to the cosmic mother. There's a violation archetypally. That's why you need to know your archetypes and you need to know the laws. These are the same laws that govern miracles. These are the same laws. What Buddha was talking about, those laws. What Jesus was talking about were those laws. I come here to teach the laws, these laws, cosmic laws. Archetypes are the laws that are in you inherently, that are governing you, that are subject to you, that are in you, that you are subject to, excuse me. Some of you have the archetype of the healer. And you think you can control the archetype, and that is where the battle comes in. Some of you may have the wounded healer. That is a written journey. That is a written journey. You cannot do anything but live the journey of the wounded healer, which means you will be wounded, but it will be a specific wound. And if you understand the archetype, you will understand the wound. So that when you are actually living the wound, instead of being crushed under the self-pity of being wounded in a way that only you can heal, because the wounded healer receives a wound that no one can help but him. Nobody can heal the wound of the wounded healer but the wounded healer himself. Nobody. And sometimes the individual is destroyed by that wound because he chooses or she chooses to let self-pity infect the wound. And it can't be helped. But those wounded healers who go, what the wound is actually destroying is the ego. The wound is designed to shatter the ego, smash it, destroy it, humble the healer, so that when the healer humbled, destroyed, the ego shattered, the only place that healer can go is into the soul, bleeding, humbled, into God saying, raise me from the dead. Raise me from the dead. If you're there at all, raise me from the dead. And then a pulse begins, slow but sure. Humiliated and from the dirt, the healer rises from the dead. This is the journey of the wounded healer. And if you have that, you will live that. And you can say to me, Carolyn, isn't that? No, there is not. But I don't want it. You have the addict archetype. I'll tell you exactly what will happen to you. Not because I see the future, but because I know the archetype. I know the archetype. I know the archetype. If you know what your archetype is, if you know what your archetypes are, you don't have one, you have several. There's ones you don't have, there's ones you do have. I don't have the pirate, but I bet a lot of people around here do. And I say that because the pirate's back again. People are pirating stuff off the internet. It's a new kind of pirate, but it's still a pirate. There's pirates off Somalia. The pirate is back again. Archetypes reshape themselves. They come back. Archetypes are reshaping themselves very dramatically, and new ones are kind of spinning off little morphing ones in the world of relationships. Very, very different. We are reshaping the archetype of relationships very dramatically, very dramatically. We're not sure what's happening in this archetype of how we relate because we've taken down familiar structures. Marriage is an archetype. Marriage is an archetype, but we've dismantled it. We've dismantled it because marriage was an archetype that goes with longevity. It goes with a vow, vow, vow. But we don't speak vow anymore. A vow is sacred. To have something sacred, you need a priest. You need a rabbi. We've dismantled that. We're rapidly dismantling the centers that go with that. A vow means, this is a vow. This is the archetype of a vow, if you really want to get this. A vow means you are invoking the presence of a cosmic witness that binds you to the person you are standing with in front of someone who is, I don't know what's going on. I can't read this clock. It's 9:39. Okay, thank you. I don't know those numbers. I mean, I don't get it. Okay, tell me when it's 10 o'clock. You're in charge. I don't get that clock. Okay. I'm seeing zeros come up. I don't get that clock, but they told me I can't go over, so you're in charge. Tell me. Okay, 5 minutes before 10. Promise? Okay. But a vow, the archetype of a vow, you are actually invoking a cosmic witness. Be it God, be it however you define cosmic witness, that says, bind my soul to the journey of this soul and witness that. You're not binding your the ownership of your civil stuff. You're binding your soul to this soul. That is a vow. Let my soul be responsible for the choices with this person now. Let my soul be involved. My karma. Let this be karmic to me. So I am saying that I will heighten my consciousness when it comes to this one person and everything that I create with this one person. I will bring greater consciousness with this one person. Together we will create life. I have to have consciousness to create life, to bring life to this earth with this one person. And I ask that you witness and give us the right souls. That is a vow. And you need someone ordained to bring that vow, to hold that, to have that holiness between you. A promise, a civil marriage, doesn't have the sacred. It snaps like this. To release a vow, to release that, you need a cosmic witness. Break this. I go before God again. Break this. Break this. I need my soul separated from this. That's the archetype of the vow. That's why when someone says, I need it annulled, oh, what a bunch of crap. That's just money. No. No. You are saying, separate my soul from him, her. I want my soul back. I want my soul back. I want my soul back. This is the archetype of the vow, which is why, how many vows will you actually make in a lifetime? How many vows? How many times will you take your soul and say, tie my soul to yours? What a phenomenal thing to do. That's the archetype of the vow. A promise is this. I promise to meet you for dinner. You broke your promise. I know, I'm sorry. You broke your vow. You got some explaining to do, baby. Okay? These are the forces of the archetypes. If you say, how do you know what archetypes you have? You got to go deep. You got to go deep. An archetype says here, and I recognize them in people so often, often with individuals, especially when I see their restlessness, and I see people saying things to me like, I'm searching, I'm seeking, in this sense that is unique to our age. And this is why I call it the Age of Archetypes. One of the qualities that is unique to us, and it didn't exist, it was kind of born in the 60s, maybe rumbling in the 50s, but articulated in the 60s. And that's the sense that we are searching for something. We're searching. What are we searching for? I'm searching. If I said, okay, I'll give you whatever you're searching for, just name it. People can't name it. They can never name what they're searching for. And if they do, they'll give it an airy word that doesn't mean anything. I'm searching for peace. Well, what does that look like to you? Well, tranquility. You just said that. They will never give a word that has any meat to it. They'll never give a word where they actually anchor their life. And this, too, what I'm describing, when I can say to you, when I can actually say to you and describe something that everybody does, I'm describing something that's archetypal. If I describe a habit one person does, I can still tie it to an archetype that is a pattern, and this habit is typical of that archetype. Did you follow that? Okay, because like, for example, hoarders, that's an archetype. But the way each hoarder does it is unique to that hoarder. Got it? Every single thing you do, every single thing you have, even the way you dress, even the person you go shop, even when you shop, you take an archetype with you. Archetypes pick out your clothes. They picked out the person you married. They picked out the reason you got divorced, if you're divorced. You take your archetypes on dates with you. You pick out the configuration of archetypes that you go out with. You leave the more temperamental ones at home. Do you think I'm kidding? You just take the nice ones. You pick them out. You think, I'll take you. I'll take you. No, you, home. Oh, no. You look at the gambler and say, you, stay home. All right? You look at the ones that you don't want to let the other person know about. You look at the slob, you stay home. You get yourself all gussied, and you go out. You look at the one that doesn't want to, the princess that doesn't want to work and just has these other dreams in mind. She's sitting there thinking, are you a knight? Do you have a castle? Can you take care of me? I mean, really, because like that's what this is all about. You got all that? Really, I mean, really, because, you know, like if you can't come through with it, I'm like so out of here. And I mean, this is really what's going on, is it's archetype to archetype. And if you have, for example, this is so often the case, where a woman's archetype who's very like Wendy and Peter Pan, they often meet. So Wendy is enchanted with Peter Pan. And she meets someone, and she'll always say, and I'll say to her, what did you see in this man? He was so much fun. He was so much fun. And then after they work, to get married, Peter Pan is not known for having a job. Is that you? Are you Wendy? How many Wendy's? Any Wendy's? Okay, because Peter Pan is the classic unemployed, but Peter Pan will always say, I'm looking for a job, but he's flying around. That's archetypal. And archetypal, Wendy has to, because remember, he's in Never Never Land, but Wendy's not. It's classic. It's classic. It's absolutely classic. It's absolutely classic. You've got to be able to spot the archetype. Yes, spot it. It is, and you have to say, I'm a Wendy, and I'm going to do this again. No, pay attention. Get that look off your face. Yeah, shoot me now, right? No. No. That's not. You know what? In my own world, because it's just us, I'll talk about it. Early on, we all have archetypal patterns. And I had, you know, a series of relationships that were just not, like, good. They were horrible. Here's another word. But I couldn't get it, but they were all the same. Okay, this is archetypal. And one day, I was in California, and he and I were on a so-called vacation. I was miserable. And I looked at him, and this was actually, for me, it was a mystical experience. And I suddenly was very detached, very impersonal. I'd entered the impersonal space. Totally impersonal. And you know how they sometimes show that illustration of a hall of mirrors? Where you just see the same thing one after another in a hall of mirrors? Or like dominoes, you know, dominoes, and how dominoes go like this when they line them up. It was that type of vision that I had. And what I saw was kind of like every man or boyfriend or a male kind of thing, and they all had the same domino. And then the dominoes went, whew. And in that instant, in that second, in that moment, in that microchip, I got it. It was me. And so long as I did not understand the pattern in me, I would only get that domino. It was as simple as that, which meant it had nothing to do with him. It had nothing to do with the domino. It was me. I had to deal with my pattern. Are you with me? This is why you need to know your archetypes. Nothing will change in your life till you know your pattern. And you will always live your life blaming someone else, when in fact it's you. Because you're the magnet of everything that happens to you. Because that's the way the laws are written. Nothing is done to you. Nothing. You can tell yourself the two worst words ever created in the ink. No, there's more than that. There's blame, deserve, and expect. I expect, what do you expect? And entitled. Those words are the root of your suffering. I deserve, what do you deserve? Tell me, what do you deserve? You don't deserve anything because you've suffered. You've suffered. Get in line. Suffering is part of the human experience. Knock it off. And here, I'm gonna tell you something. This is something you just need to dwell on. Everybody's sick and tired of your suffering stories. They don't want to tell you that. They're bored with them. They're sick of them. They can't stand your complaining. They can't stand your pessimism. I will be the bearer of that message. I am doing them a favor. Here's something else. You have abused as many people as you claim have abused you. You have your own style. You have your own methods. You have your own talents for it. The reason I can say that is that if you haven't done it to others, you've done it to yourself. But you have found ways of passing on abuse, one way or another. You've done it in some way, shape, or form. You've tormented yourself. You've tormented it by the way you think, perhaps by the way you've gained weight, by the way you torment, the way you think about yourself. You're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. What kind of person torments themselves with those thoughts every single day? That is psychic solitary confinement. That's a torture chamber. And if you've done that to yourself, you should put your head in a toilet for 7 days. That's the remedy. You don't need therapy, you need a toilet. Oh, okay. Oh, God, we only have 5 minutes left. Okay. All right. Well, come over for dinner. All right. Okay, so here's a website I want you to all write down, archetype.com. Write that down. Archetype.com. Write that down. I want you to go to that website. You'll have a ball because that's... No, it's archetype.com now. Yeah, we changed it. Archetype.com. And this is a blast. You'll have a blast. This is a website all based on archetypes. You'll have a blast. And I will be doing a book signing for my book, Archetypes, Who Are You, later this morning. I think Nancy knows where. And I hope you'll enjoy that book because it's a wonderful intro into archetypes. So that's that. There's so much more to say. What I'm going to conclude with is this. This is the age of archetypes. This is that age. And archetypes are a tool, a guide. I want you to remember that every time you can't, it's compulsive. If I told you, no more labeling. No more labeling. You can't label one more person. You can't do it. I won't let you do it. I won't let you do it. Just as an assignment, turn it off. You just pay attention to how you can't stop. That it is part of your instinct, and it's part of your survival mechanism. Look at how much information you draw. One of the in my own workshops, my website is my last name, myss.com. In one of my workshops, I'm doing a workshop on archetypes. You could check out the website if you're interested in any of these workshops. One of the exercises is to have you sit next to someone you don't know and figure out their archetypes, and everybody gets them right. Everybody. And I'll leave you with this. The impulses in you, when you just ask yourself today, what have you always wanted to do? And you dismiss it as if it's nothing. It's not nothing. Anything that is always in you is rooted in an archetypal pattern that's in your soul. It's in your soul, which means you were assigned it, given it, before you were born. Don't dismiss those impulses. When you say things like, I'm searching in life, what you're searching for is the courage to actually be who you are, to actually act on your own impulses. You're not searching for anything outside yourself. That's why you can't name it. That's why you can't describe it. What you're searching for is courage. What you're searching for is the capacity to make the choices that are already impulsing in you. You know exactly what you want to do. You want a deeper expression of you. You want the courage to go inside and be fully you. That's what you're searching for. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.